We didn't even talk about AAA, about the fact WWE announced that they purchased AAA. What do you think of this? What do you think of the idea that WWE is buying one of the only two major Mexican wrestling companies? CMLL owns their own buildings. Now they're working with AEW. The week they announced they're working with AEW, WWE announces they're buying Antonio Pena's AAA. What do you think?
Well, and that's right. I realized we didn't talk about that. We talked about talking about it. And here we haven't talked about it yet because in the middle of all this other chaos and all these shows and everything, this was just announced at what, a pre-WrestleMania pre-show press deal or whatever.
Yeah, on Peacock.
Oh yeah, by the way, we just on Peacock. They were on the cock. We just bought one of the two major promotions in Mexico, and so there's that. They had obviously Antonio Pena's passed on, right? But they had, what is that his daughter, Maricela?
Oh no, he had no daughter. That's I believe his sister maybe, and his nephew.
Well, you say, oh no, he had no daughter, and maybe I remember now why that might be, but I was trying to establish the relationship. You didn't have to scoff at it so quickly. There were family members and they've carried on the tradition or whatever. And they were there, and she looks like a fucking Bond villain if they made the fucking James Bond movies in Guatemala. But now that, and help me on this, because again, all of these relationships, there have been AAA guys that have appeared for AEW. But then in the past, but then just recently, AEW has announced a relationship with CMLL, which is the other competing promotion down there. How long do you think they've known that these talks were going on, that the WWE was going to buy the whole son of a bitch?
They may have suspected something for a while because, AEW has had their issues with people involved with AAA. Penta, Phoenix, Conan. So it's not like they would be completely surprised. And again, I would hope that Tony completely understands, and I think he does, that WWE is out to shut the door on any competition worldwide. So
that is not under its umbrella or beholden to it.
That's not either owned by them or completely subservient to them.
Yes.
So,
and now we were talking about their efforts to take over the world here on I think maybe the last show we did just a few days ago. And we said they could probably do big money events in Japan on a limited basis, not be based there or do it a ton, but they could do that on their own right now. And they really wouldn't need to buy New Japan, but that Mexico, because of the way they do business down there, and it's unique set up in a variety of ways, I thought they'd have more problems there than anywhere. So they have solved that. They probably agreed because they said, fuck it, we're not going to try to do this even working with somebody. We're just going to buy the fucking thing that's already there. But now the problem becomes trying to figure out a way to state this. How the fuck is it going to work for the WWE corporate office that owns this entity in Mexico to run it and to interact with the people in AAA that know how the business runs and have been running it, which is obviously, I think, why they bought it, because they know the buildings, they know the market, they know the people, they know the advertising, they do whatever the fuck. Because remember when 30 years ago, when Vince tried to work with Antonio Pena, they couldn't even schedule the meeting and get him there on the same fucking day. And then Vince completely emasculated all of the talent on his television because he didn't understand what they meant in the culture there. And the whole Super Astros thing lasted, 90 days maybe. So how are it's going to be like if there was a language barrier when Sinclair Broadcasting bought Ring of Honor. for the wrestling people trying to teach goddamn Sinclair Broadcasting how that a wrestling business worked. Well, now you add a second language into that with them trying to tell anybody that the WWE has in their office or that they send down there how the business in Mexico works. This should be interesting.
Do you think they made this move because of the relationship between OVW and their new owners, MSM? Obviously, this new multinational conglomerate there to pick up wrestling companies.
I think they probably jumped in while it was still available because they figured, well, if they've already bought OVW, then AAA's got to be next on the list. And then they'd move the whole shooting match over to fucking Faversham West Country.
You know, this is one of those periods of time, too, where you kind of, if you were a fan of AAA, at any point, you would kind of wish the WWE Network was still here because it's not like they're going to upload the entire AAA archive to Peacock or Netflix. So that it'll be another tape catalog they own. And they probably, I can't imagine they're going to monetize it that much because how are they going to do it?
Well, but hold on. They can, and then we'll move on with Raw here in a second, but I just thought of this since you brought that up. You can what do they call it? Geo block the things, or what would it be like if they had a service where all the people in Mexico that have been AAA fans could go on the internet and does AAA have this and watch all of the tapes, all of the shows? And if they don't, they might very well want to. And I don't know if people in Mexico or it's a cultural thing where they pay for a lot of streaming or not, but even a YouTube channel supported by advertising that would get tons of views, one would think there would be a market for that in the country there. And that's the WWE's expertise, is they'll stream this shit up your ass if you let them.
Yeah, and actually that's a great point because WWE has done a lot more recently with YouTube, recognizing the strength of it, like the WCW archives. There's no other home for it, and you could put advertising on it. You could get it out there to the world. So maybe you're right. Maybe that is what they'll do.